someone's sitting inside this little drink fridges things. I was like, that's funny. I like that. Hey everyone, welcome back to Rupees Over Ramen, the show where we talk about animation, creativity, the creative process, and tons of other nerdy stuff. So today is going to be a more like loose format podcast episode. We're going to be talking about some of the stories that I've been working on and the inspirations that have come to me for these stories and like where I've gained my inspiration and how I've continued to work on these stories, even if it's just in a small way. So one of the stories I've been working on right now, the name is Tanuki Hero, and it's based on some friends that I had a gaming channel with a while back. We were called the Tanuki Toad team, so I wanted to kind of pay homage to that, so I've been working on this story. It's about a group of longtime friends that go against demons and shadows of another world in boss battles with nothing but old nostalgic accessories and their wits in order to protect the world and their family. It takes place in Vancouver, Canada, and they live in what they call the Loft. It's an abandoned library, or basically what's still standing of that library anyway. So this idea kind of all started when I was working on an illustration for university, and we had to draw like 20 characters in our illustration. And if you've been on my Instagram, you've probably seen that illustration. And I was like, this would be a really cool opportunity to take some of the designs my friend Mephilis designed of our characters and draw those in, and then also draw in characters based on other people that have been on the gaming channel and kind of figure out their character designs. So it's super fun working on that and getting that all figured out. And working on getting those all drawn out, I started a Pinterest board, which Pinterest boards have been super helpful in being able to get ideas down and one, to have reference to draw from, but also like emotional reference to draw from. Basically what I'm talking about is you see an image on Pinterest, like a photo of someone walking or something, or someone sitting, or like a box of Chinese takeout, and you're like, yes, I love that vibe, I love that emotion, and I want to capture that. And you go and look back at that as you're looking at your art and be like, hey, am I capturing this emotion that I want to capture? And if you are, then awesome, good on you. If you're not, then you can go and look over and be like, okay, what does this have that I can add into my art and that can influence my art and impact me as an artist? What is in this style of this photo, the color grading or the subject matter? What is it that makes this make an impact on me? So in starting this Pinterest board, I started out with Mephilis, and he has that power glove kind of in the same realm or thread of Iron Man, or like the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah, so he wears that on one of his arms, and that's kind of that was the starting point for him. And then when working on Toad's character, which is based on my brother Dallin, he has a podcast as well called the Yield Today with James Candland podcast, and it's super cool, so go check that out. I'll put a link. Growing up with Dallin, one of the things that was like quintessential Dallin or quintessential Toad was Pokemon. And we've actually kind of talked about Pokemon and how it's impacted his life recently, especially with like Pokemon Crystal and Pokemon Emerald. I really love those generations as well, but with that I wanted to make him a Pokemon trainer. So basically his nostalgic item kind of came around the idea of like Tamagotchis, but with like the classic Game Boy. And from that he can summon basically kind of like a Pokemon, but basically just summon like a familiar that can help him in battle and assist him in fighting against these giant demons. And kind of where the demon idea came from, I really love boss battles, especially in Legend of Zelda. Like boss battles are the thing that makes Legend of Zelda like so amazing, in boss battles in Mario games, like Pokemon with gym leader battles, just like a giant boss in Sonic, like Sonic Adventure 2 battle, like when you're flying around in space, says Supersonic, and you have like the epic anime music in the background. It's just like, yes, I love this boss battles. We played video games on the couch and just supported each other in those games. A lot of them were cooperative games, some were competitive games, but I thought boss battles, 4-player, kind of like that D&D vibe, like I think that would work really well. So that's kind of where that started. So he became a Pokemon trainer. I kind of made him kind of like a Pokemon trainer with that backwards hat. He used to have like a mushroom head and like kind of looked like Toad with the vest and stuff, but applied that and making it more kind of like that Letterman jacket, Pokemon trainer thing. So then with working on my character, Mephilis had drawn me kind of like, my name was Ice Luigi when I was on the channel. Everyone called me Ice. I had the blue hat like Ice Luigi, and I had kind of like the circle, but it didn't have any like letter. Just kind kind of simplifying it. And then I had a scarf, which kind of mimicked the overalls that Luigi wears. I don't know if Mephiles did that on purpose, but I always look at him like, dang, that's super cool. It's like taking an idea and being like, I like that, but I don't want overalls, so let's do a scarf. And it still has that same shape and like form. And I'm like, okay, so what is his nostalgic accessory going to be? Even though I never had this game, every time I played it, I was like, this is super cool. And I always wanted to get one of these and make like a fighting game or like some kind of like turn-based strategy game, like RPG type thing. But you have the Guitar Hero guitar and you use that in fighting against like playing chords and fighting against bosses. I've always loved, like in D&D, I am a bard, my character is, and I was like, Guitar Hero, yes, that is my weapon of choice. With the Pinterest board, kind of did some inspiration with like having a Walkman on my side, like clipped to my side. So that was my character. When working on Mini Beast's character, and this one's still like in the works because it's not quite nostalgic accessory, but it was the thing that first came to my mind and that I drew into this drawing. Wouldn't it be cool if he had kind of like dual wielding like dagger blades, but they're lightsabers? I thought about Joy-Cons, like that works super well because it kind of has like that black sensor type thing on it. The blade going coming out of that would be super cool. I've thought about doing it as NES controllers in his hand to make it more nostalgic, and then he has like a beanie with like little ears because he's Mini Beast. In continuing to work on this, I decided to kind of choose like this pickup truck Land Rover type thing because my friend Mephiles used to drive like a pickup truck, sitting in the back of that pickup truck, and I'm like, that's something I think is iconic and I want to have that inspire the story. So just scrolling up here on my YouTube channel, I'm gonna have a video of this where I'm scrolling through this. Then I was like, okay, I have another story that I'm working on, which is Uptown Warriors, and it's kind of like that urban fantasy type vibe, kind of like what Owl House has done and stuff. I started working on the story a long time ago, and now everyone's doing stories like that. I'm like, dang, this is cool. Everyone's kind of going in the same direction that I wanted to go in like a while back. I don't know, it's really cool to see that. So it's like, okay, how am I gonna make this Tanuki Hero story stand out from the others? How about I do that cyberpunk vibe, but also kind of that vaporwave vibe? So I was making this Pinterest board and I started seeing these really cool like vaporwave, like with the pink and blue, kind of like that gamer aesthetic, and I'm like, ooh yeah, that. And then I saw one of those hexagonal pool tables, if you've seen those, bumper pool, if you've heard of that before. My grandparents had one up in a loft above their garage, but I saw someone that converted it into this Settlers of Catan gaming table. That's super cool. So I pinned that. If you've seen like the old school like Jonas Brothers show, they kind of have that sunken down seating arrangement thing, but I saw something similar to that where it was like couches in a square and then in the middle was that Settlers of Catan. So I'm like, okay, let's combine these two ideas, because growing up, my cousins and my brother, we would play Settlers of Catan and had some super awesome memories of that. In shows, I love it when it includes things that people can relate to. Wow, I used to play Settlers of Catan. That made a big impact on me and a big impact on my life. And that's cool that they've included this. Someone's sitting inside this little drink fridges things. I was like, that's funny. I like that. Because like when we were working on the channel, it was a lot of just shenanigans and stuff. So in the Pinterest board, I'll include a link in the show notes and on the video. But if you check it out, there's a lot of like shenanigans pictures, like some guy in a suitcase. And I'm like, dude, that works super well for like Mephiles and Mini Beast. Like taking the characters in a photo and being like, these apply to my characters. Trying to be like, I want to capture that. I want to capture that vibe. And working on this more, I saw some like Pac-Man and like retro aesthetic stuff, and I'm like, yes, this is good. Or if there's something out and about, like in person, like when I'm walking around and I'm like, dang, that really like gives me an idea for this story. And so take a picture of that, just go like and just like, yeah, use that in your story. Like take inspiration from everything around you. Because like with inspiration, Jake Parker kind of talks about it as a creative bank account. You can't withdraw if you never deposit. So you need to be putting things into that creative bank account, or some people talk about it as a creative well. You need to be putting water into there or allowing it to rain there in order for you to still draw up water from that well. And I know like you probably don't want to drink rainwater, but you know what I'm talking about. When working on creative things, in order to prevent yourself from having creative burnout, you need to make sure that you are putting in the effort of gaining inspiration from the things around you. That was one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is so I could look at animation and be like, hey, what inspiration can I gain from this? Why do I like this so much? Base it around that. I also kind of wanted to capture with this story 90s vibes and like old 90s 90s things, and that's where the nostalgic accessory thing came from, because I love nostalgia. Also, we started a podcast called Not Quite Legends, where all the people I'm talking about, we come together on a Zoom call and we have discussions about the channel, about life, about mental health, about creativity, and just what we're up to. Go check that out in the description. Whenever I'm working on this Pinterest board, I like share stuff from there. Maybe if I make a thumbnail for a video and I'm like, that kind of applies to this story, because I want to start incorporating these stories more into my YouTube channel, possibly with animatics or videos like drawing the characters. I don't know, it's just tough trying to get it started. That's why I thought this would be a cool way of just introducing you guys to this story. I'm going to be doing another episode talking about Tanuki Hero. So if you're interested in this story, tons of friends who go against demons and shadows of another world with nothing but old nostalgic accessories and their wits in order to protect the world and their family. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys next Saturday. Thank you so much. See you guys next time. Peace.